便利な能力だな。クラーベス。
Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Blackbeard doesn't want to become the Pirate King. He wants to rule the world. And here's how and why he might succeed. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Guys, the story of One Piece has always revolved around the pursuit of the One Piece. But when we look at Marshall D. Teach, the infamous Blackbeard, we start to realize he may be aiming for something much bigger. If Luffy seeks complete freedom for all, following in Roger's footsteps with a pure and selfless heart, then Blackbeard, as his polar opposite, doesn't just want the Pirate King's throne, he might be after absolute control over the entire world. At first glance, this idea might seem bold, but by analyzing the events, characters, and connections, we see that Blackbeard is strategically aligning himself with something far more ambitious, something even Roxy Xebec, one of the most dangerous villains in history, failed to achieve. Starting with what we know about Roxy Xebec, the legendary pirate who challenged the world decades ago, his story gives us a glimpse of what Teach might be trying to recreate, but with more intelligence and resources. Xebec was the leader of the Rocks Pirates, a crew that included future titans like Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom. His goal? To overthrow the world system and become the ultimate ruler. He directly attacked the Celestial Dragons and attempted to take control of God Valley, a location shrouded in mystery to this day. However, Xebec failed due to the unlikely alliance of Goldie Roger and Monkey D. Garp. This event marked the end of his threat, but planted the seeds for Teach's rise, who seems not only to follow in Xebec's footsteps, but also to correct his mistakes. One of the strongest hints of this connection comes from Blackbeard's ship, the Saber of Xebec. In a recent SBS Q&A session in the manga, Eiichiro Oda was asked about the ship's name and its connection to rocks. Although Oda responded ambiguously, mentioning that Xebec is a type of ship, it's hard to believe this is mere coincidence. Oda rarely leaves such specific details without purpose. The choice of the name appears to be a deliberate acknowledgement of Teach's connection to Xebec's legacy, suggesting that he is not only inspired by him, but perhaps continuing his mission. Additionally, using the name might indicate that Blackbeard sees Xebec as an example of someone who almost succeeded, but lacked the right tools to achieve ultimate victory. Unlike Xebec, Blackbeard doesn't act impulsively or rely solely on brute strength. He is a cunning strategist, moving in the shadows and waiting for the perfect moment. Looking at recent manga events in chapter 1086, we see that Teach is heading to Mary Joyce, the center of world power. This alone echoes Xebec's past actions, who also directly targeted the Celestial Dragons in his attempt to seize control of the world. However, the critical difference here is that Teach is exploiting a moment of chaos. With the Revolutionary Army, led by Dragon, attacking the world government's capital, Teach has a golden opportunity to not only eliminate revolutionary opposition, but also position himself as the new ruler. Blackbeard has always been described as Luffy's complete opposite, and this is no coincidence. While Luffy represents freedom and the desire for everyone to follow their dreams, Teach is the antithesis of this philosophy. He is the darkness that consumes the light, a man who doesn't seek freedom but control. This dichotomy is further emphasized when we consider his powers. With the Yami no Mi, the dark fruit, he literally consumes everything around him, extinguishing light and stripping others of their freedom, as he did with Ace. If Luffy, as the sun god Neko, embodies freedom and joy, Teach is the oppressive weight seeking to subjugate them. Teach's interest in Mary Joyce is not just strategic, it's symbolic. He's targeting the heart of world power, where the world government and the celestial nobles exercise absolute control. What makes this action even more significant is that Teach has something Xebec didn't: patience and calculation. Xebec attacked head-on, relying on brute strength, and was stopped before he could achieve his goal. Teach, on the other hand, waits for the perfect moment to strike, manipulating situations and people to ensure his plans progress without unnecessary resistance. Moreover, it's important to remember that Teach already possesses two of the world's most devastating powers, the Yami no Mi and the Gura no Mi, the latter previously used by Whitebeard. Combined, these powers represent destruction and domination on a global scale. But Teach doesn't seem satisfied with just that. He's after something greater. Perhaps a third devil fruit or an ancient weapon. The fact that he's actively seeking more power suggests he won't settle for being merely the Pirate King. He wants what Roger, Xebec, and no one else could achieve: ruling the entire world. The possibility that Teach aims to be the king of the world is further supported by the fact that he doesn't follow traditional pirate ideals. While Luffy sees the One Piece as the realization of a dream, Teach sees it as a means to achieve his true goal. He is the kind of villain who doesn't care about freedom or what the treasure means to others. To him, the One Piece is a tool, something that can consolidate his power and secure his position as the absolute ruler. This is what makes him so dangerous. He not only wants the Pirate King's throne, but also seeks to rewrite the rules of the entire world. If Teach truly becomes the king of the world, it would raise a series of questions for the One Piece narrative. How would Luffy react to seeing his greatest rival achieve such a dark goal? Could Dragon and the revolutionaries stop Teach, or would they be annihilated in the process? Luffy's reaction to facing a world where Blackbeard succeeds in his objectives would undoubtedly be one of the most emotional and impactful moments in One Piece. As a symbol of freedom and hope, Luffy would likely experience a mix of shock, anger, and sadness. But how would he respond to this scenario? And how would it affect both his journey and the world around him? Let's explore. If Blackbeard truly established himself as the world's ruler, crushing everyone's freedom and distorting Roger's ideals, Luffy would be the one most emotionally affected. He doesn't fight just for his own dreams, but also for the dreams of his crewmates and the people he meets on his journey. For Luffy, knowing that someone like Teach managed to subjugate the world would be a profound blow. He would likely remember all the people who believed in him, such as Shanks, Ace, Sabo, and so many others who gave their all to ensure the world could be a free place. Luffy's frustration at seeing this legacy threatened would be unlike anything we've ever seen, perhaps even more intense than his reaction to Ace's loss during the Marineford arc. However, Luffy has never been someone who succumbs to despair. He is resilient. Even in the darkest moments, he finds a way to rise again and keep fighting. The difference here is that this battle wouldn't just be about the title of Pirate King, but about the very meaning of freedom and justice in the world. Luffy wouldn't just be fighting for himself, but to reclaim what was lost for everyone who believed in a better future. This conflict would also deeply affect his crewmates. Zoro, Sanji, Nami, and the rest of the crew would be equally impacted, especially since they've witnessed firsthand how hard Luffy has worked to preserve everyone's freedom. Zoro, in particular, would be a stabilizing force during this time, reminding Luffy of his responsibility as a captain and encouraging him to fight with even more determination. The crew wouldn't just follow Luffy, but would also face this challenge as a final test of their unity and purpose. On a global level, the consequences would be equally devastating. Blackbeard, with his style of ruling through fear and oppression, would likely seek to consolidate his power by eliminating any trace of rebellion. This would include eradicating groups like the revolutionaries, already in conflict with the world government, and subjugating nations that didn't align with his vision. Countries like Alabasta, Wano, and Fishman Island, which have deep connections to Luffy and his allies, would be direct targets. This would create a dark world where freedom would be a privilege for the few, and hope would become an almost forgotten idea. Moreover, the world's balance of power would be destroyed. With Teach in control, there would no longer be a Yonko system or even the world government as we know it. He would unify power around himself, creating an unprecedented authoritarian regime. The ancient weapons likely in his possession in this scenario would be used as tools of intimidation, ensuring no one dared to challenge him. This wouldn't just put Luffy in a unique position of opposition, but also unite unexpected forces against Blackbeard, including other pirates, revolutionaries, and even former world government allies. For Luffy, this scenario would be the greatest test of his life. He would have to overcome not just Teach's overwhelming power, but also the emotional impact of seeing Roger's dream threatened. Luffy would have to prove that even against all odds, he is the true bearer of Joy Boy's legacy and the only one capable of bringing light back to the world. This would mean a final battle not just of strength, but also of ideals, where freedom would face oppression and hope would guide Luffy and his friends to victory. If we revisit chapters like 957, where Garp explains the threat posed by the Rocks pirates, it's evident that Xebec didn't just want to be an authority figure among pirates. He aimed for absolute control of the world, something that at first glance seems too ambitious even by One Piece standards. But looking closer, Teach is already going beyond where Xebec reached. He has not only inherited Rox's ambition, but also the knowledge of how to manipulate the world system to his advantage. Another interesting point is his obsession with devil fruits. Teach isn't just someone who understands the value of abilities. He seems to be on a mission to gather the most powerful ones. His possession of the Yami Yami no Mi and the Gura Gura no Mi already makes him unique, but he might well be seeking a a third, something never before done in One Piece. There's speculation about how he could consume a third fruit, and his peculiar body structure mentioned by Marco in chapter 966 might be the key to this. If he truly manages to acquire a third ability, it would place him on a level unreachable by any other character, cementing his position as the absolute ruler, even above the world government. But perhaps the greatest hint that Teach is aiming for the world's throne lies in his philosophy. He believes that a man dreams and the dream never dies, a phrase he mentioned in chapter 225. For many, this may seem like a vision of hope or ambition. However, when it comes to Teach, it reflects his distorted view of freedom. He doesn't seek freedom for everyone like Luffy. He wants the freedom to impose his will on the world. He wants to be the man who defines the dreams of others, who controls the narrative, who governs history. This leads us to the inevitable conclusion that Teach isn't just after the One Piece as a treasure. He's after the One Piece as a key to unlocking something greater, something that could put the entire world under his control. He knows that Roger's legacy is more than riches. It's a power that can change the course of history. And while Luffy seeks this power to liberate, Teach seeks it to dominate. If Blackbeard truly achieves this goal, the impact on the One Piece world would be devastating. The freedom Luffy values so deeply would be crushed, and Roger's legacy would be distorted into something completely opposite of his wish. More than that, it would put Luffy and Teach on an inevitable collision course, where not just the Pirate King title, but the entire world's fate would be at stake. Blackbeard is, without a doubt, the most dangerous villain to appear in One Piece. Not because he is the strongest or the smartest, but because he is the most calculating. He waits, plans, and attacks only when he knows he can win. And unlike Xebec, he has the knowledge and resources to achieve his goals. If no one stops him, he won't just be the Pirate King. He will be the ruler of the world. And only the Sun God, Luffy, can prevent this from happening. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.